così.
No,
Lo posso lasciare?
certamente sì, a me non importa. Ci sono un sacco di prese, non so questo di chi sia.
Questo non lo so. Tolgo il suono.
Il suono. Questo è mio, il terzo?
Non sappiamo. Missing.
Missing. Missing in action. È la cosa migliore.
Twitter first. Okay, just one communication. This is our Twitter account. Our Twitter account is workshop_5. And if you want, it's just a plus for your meeting. You can tweet with hashtag DVW5, WS5, or hashtag Digital Venice, okay? If you want, and mentioning maybe the Twitter account, okay? If you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Robert Madeline, and I have the pleasure to be the Director General for DG Connect of the European Commission, and to have been invited by our Italian hosts to moderate this afternoon's discussion. I intend to emulate what Prime Minister Renzi did this morning and try to spend most of the time listening. But I thought, because not everybody was following the web stream from the session this morning, it might be interesting to introduce this workshop by positioning it within what I have taken away from this Italian presidency launch event. The first thing I think to say is that for the European Commission, and I guess for all of you since you're here, it's a very important first that the Italian presidency has chosen to begin with digital. In my job, I'm paid to say digital first, digital by default, digital always. My perception over 5 years is that we talk digital increasingly in Europe, but we have yet at the level everywhere. And if I look at the last European Council, the idea of digital is not in the top 5 strategic priorities. It's implicit, but it's not there. And if I look at the top 5 priorities, they also don't include a European Council visionary commitment to change and modernize and open up the way we deliver public goods to people. And you can call that public sector modernization, you can call it open government, but it's not there. So there are these two things missing, seen from where I sit, in the emerging vision of the next 5 years in Europe. The Italian presidency is not just once every 6 months there's a new presidency. Once every 10 presidencies, a presidency coincides with the change of parliament and the change of commission and the change of chair of the European Council. So personally, I see this as a very important window of opportunity to correct the vision in Europe. And the Prime Minister this morning, responding to the round of the table, said two things which I think are directly relevant to this workshop. The first was, we shall fail to sell digital and globalization unless our citizens understand that it has a human face and is good for them. So digital must be civic. And secondly, he said, for his changes in Italy and for the challenges facing Europe, we need open government, open data, transparency. And I think that those two statements go directly to the heart of what we're looking at this afternoon. So not by coincidence, I think that the choices of workshops, including this one, were the right choices. And I'm confident that also the choices of speakers will help us to have a good conversation around those issues. The way we intend to organize the next 2.5 hours, a bit less than 3 hours, is to have two halves. In each half, we have a couple of eminent presentations. We also have a rapporteur who will frame the debate, and we will have time for discussion. And therefore, for the first half, I would like to move just straight into that and to give the floor to Leda Guini from the city of Bologna, who will tell us about how she sees the challenges that we'll be looking at in the first half of this workshop. Then we have a 5-minute break, and then we go through the second half. And I have to, my only important role in the rest of the afternoon is to stop at 5:45 so that our rapporteurs have time to be sure they are ready for the plenary, and for us also to find some seats there and to find the plenary wherever it is. So, Leda, the floor is yours.
How 100%?
Sì.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little bit sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Leda Guidi. I'm from the city of Bologna. I'm responsible in my city for the digital agenda, the local digital agenda. And this afternoon I will be the rapporteur together with Stefano Pisticannella. And I would like to share with you very briefly a vision from a local authority, that is my city, that will be a metropolitan area city in the next year. And our local authority tried to face the challenges that our chair shared with us a minute ago. And I want to start with this statement from Tim Berners-Lee that at that time, 25 years ago, I think, stressed the fact that the internet is more social than technological one. So it's made for life, for citizens, to transform and better the life of the citizen. And we, as a city, starting from that, we set up the first civic network in Italy, the second one after Amsterdam in the mid of 90, so at the beginning of internet, the free civic network. We set our digital agenda on these 3 points, so very in line with the statement of the chair. Empowering the communities in the metropolitan area, so give also the condition to reshape the identity of the community that now is focused on the city, of the urban city, and the next year will start to be focused on the more broad space, not only physical, but also digital. So making citizens aware of digital rights and challenges, so that is about how to change the statutes of the charter of the city in order to found, from the legal and institutional point of view, this new dimension, and in the same time promoting the inclusion, the e-inclusion and the e-inclusion and e-participation also in an equal and gender-balanced way. That is a very important point for us, for our digital agenda, because, as you probably know, as you surely know, in Italy, the women access to the net, the ICT, is very, very lying behind the most part of the other countries in Europe. So it's unequal. So we, starting from the digital agenda, the Europe digital agenda, we had a participatory process to write the agenda, local agenda, with the citizen, with stakeholder of the city, that lasted 9 months, and then we fixed in a formal document three priorities: internet as a right. So we will, it's about broadband, the infrastructure, let's say, the broadband, the ultra broadband, and the free wireless in public places. It's about a civic platform. So how to give to citizens a place where collaborate together with the municipality, but also among themselves. So we call it WeGov, not eGov, but WeGov, sharing, collaborating, and give sense to the, let's say, public goods, common goods concept. And last one, but not less important, open it up. Data, but not also data, infrastructure and software. About the network, we have in 2 years all the city covered by the fiber optics for citizens, in partnership, of course, with private telcos, because if not, our state aids. And all the public administration already in the city are connected to the fiber optic. It's called MAN, Metropolitan Area Network. It's done already. And in 2 years, all the schools of the area will be connected in fiber optic and cabled. And as we are aware that the mobile and the ubiquitous use is spread in the community, we have opened it up, the access to the internet. Probably you know that the access to the internet in Italy needs to be recognized, to identify. We have chosen another way, so it's open, it's everywhere, it's free, and also involving private partner. If not, it was difficult to find the business model for that, because as you know, the public administration, the local public administration are very poor at that moment. And one of the most important things is the civic medium. We call it civic medium. This is in the path on designing. And is a co-design platform that will be at the disposal of citizens, startup, and small, medium enterprise in order to produce a service together with the municipality and the other public administration in another, let's say, kind of governance model. I can skip that. That is the other point is open data portal. We have already 600 data sets published, and we will have this policy to open all the service with API policy. And the last one is about an important for us European project that connect the local perspective to the European perspective. Is the ICT project that is about developing together with Barcelona, Genova, and London, and also Fraunhofer Institute. That, well, in that context, I met Linda Strick. We will have a ICT platform to open it up, data, infrastructure, and a set of policy, a guideline, in order to allow the citizens to co-produce, co-design, and co-sell, let's say, service of public interest. Thank you very much.
You want to stay there or go there? It's up to you. Soledad, thank you very much. Yes, somebody will change the slides.
Me?
You will change the slides, very good. And then we will have Linda Strick next from Fraunhofer.
If I will able to, because no, it's better the man.
Better the man. Better the man who knows, the person who knows. So, Linda, you want to make sure you get the right slides? One three. Voilà.
Okay.
I cannot read it here, so.
Very good.
Glasses again.
So I think we take the two presentations from the Fraunhofer perspective and from the federal German administration perspective, and then we open the floor for comments. If I can say one thing as you go in, Leda makes it sound very easy as our rapporteur, but the trick question, I think, is, and when you exercise this plan, which looks wonderful and it seems to work, what are the problems? And how do you get people to agree? Only money? I'm not sure. So,
Okay. So, yes, I'm very happy that I'm here, and I'm very honored to have here the presentation. I'm not sure if you at the end like what I say, but anyway. I'm from Fraunhofer, which is a huge German research center, and what I do is since 1995, public sector. So we have a quite big department working for the public sector. And if you look at the public sector, what you see here is that there is already a European e-government action plan. And it says a lot of those things we have already seen. It's seamless e-government services. They could be smart, right? We have reduced administrative burden, improved organizational progress, sustainable low-carbon economy, establishing key enablers, strengthen citizen and business. So there's everything already said in that part. And what it means, sir, it's really what you have today. It's participation, transparency, and cooperation. This is coming about of this plan already. So what is happening today is what you see in each country is that citizens participate much more in decision processes. So, for example, you have, so we said that like crowdsourcing, you have in your municipality involve citizen with a certain part of the total money you have available to decide on which way we should go. If you don't have enough money and the kindergarten needs new chairs or the schools need new toilets, you just ask as well on that way on crowdfunding. So that's already happening in certain municipal areas. So in addition, the government needs to provide services transparently so that they actually know in which way the public sector is acting. On the other hand, what you need more is you need more the process orientation, you need more the cooperation, which still is, on the perspective, what I see, a bit hard to see how it works out. What you can do is you can use IT to help you to support the e-government to take care of their resources in order to provide those services to the government, but just use the IT as a vehicle to further go in the right direction. So what they are facing now is, in terms of participation, government is facing more and more information coming in from different sources, and they have to cope with it. They need more and more cooperation in terms of shared service centers, because what they need to have is really to focus and to use the support of the IT rather than developing each by themselves. And I don't talk about cross Europe. What I talk about is really within one country. It would be nice if you do the consolidation on those kinds of services. And as well, the transparency is one part what you can come up with. Why I'm saying this is that I'm working since 2009 on the area of cloud computing, and I see that is an enabling technology helping the public sector to bring their services in a much better way forward. And this comes together with what, I don't know what Millie Cruz said this morning, but this comes very much together what she started with in 2011, setting up the European Cloud Strategy, together with a board of industry and policymakers to see the way of cloud adoption, fostering not only the government modernization, but on the other hand also fostering the industry to provide qualitative new services to the public sector. And looking at legal barriers, security, and one point, interoperability. Even though you have standards, interoperability is not given by just going for standards. That's one thing for sure, and that's one thing one should know. So more going for interoperability is having things doing in piloting environments. So in that sense, as one part of the European cloud strategy, I'm the proud coordinator of doing a Cloud for Europe project, trying the adoption of cloud computing for the public sector. What I do in addition is how to bring innovation in the public sector, is really looking how to tender R&D instead of tendering services with clear functionality, which means what you have to have in mind here is more, what are the legal barriers, what are the real gaps I'm facing in the public sector, and what are the challenges the industry can meet the public sector needs. There is no way on saying that we have to the ability to tender infrastructures, and I have here the connected infrastructures because that's one, the cloud basis, if you look at infrastructure as a service, is already given. And that's what you could use if you already have a lot of standardized interfaces in the connected infrastructures. I think the platform to do smart cooperation is there. The basic platform in terms of communication. Cloud for Europe is as well looking at something or identify one thing which is also missing, which I personally found very interesting. What do you need to have in terms of seeing what is the right cloud service? I don't know how many minutes I have, but I'm quick now. Okay, what cloud services can I use from others? So what you call is like cloud broker is something on a European level where one can instantiate, and that was a discussion we had with the industry, on the European level, a kind of cloud broker where certified cloud services can be brokered and used by public sector organizations because they know this is a certified service by the public sector. So that's one thing. Going quickly now, because I said that, there's a slide whenever you want to join and interested in the project, there's a link. The second example is, unfortunately it's in German, but the second example is for going into smarter government is having a cloud marketplace. There's one project which is run, which was funded by Germany on the Trusted Cloud program, where is also how to build trust in cloud, is a marketplace which is related to live events and where citizens can bring up new services, where whenever you move from one place to the other, industry can also place on the same marketplace their new services. So you have all the things related to your personal situation. So if you move, you have kindergarten, you want to have a new apartment, and those things. So everything is on that marketplace. So that's one thing where you have this creation of, it's cloud-based architecture for sure, because I'm the cloud guy. But you have all this information ready and interfaces ready. And they also have, in this marketplace, you also have a certified, whatever certification is needed. It needs not to be just a very high-level certification on a government level. It could be also a C-level, like other organizations are doing, that the services which are available there are also useful and can be used. And finally, the outlook is what is smarter is the government will grow, and it grows into the smart cities where everything will be put on together, not only the government and the system of systems where everything will be integrated. Thank you.
This one.
Please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Katrin Weigand. I'm from the Federal Office of Administration in Germany, and today I would like to tell you something about EENS, which is a large-scale pilot and called Electronic Simple European Network Services, about this project and what we are doing regarding the modernization of the public administrations and the public sector, and who else will benefit from EENS. And I would like to discuss with you maybe in a later stage about the governance structure, because actually a governance structure is needed so that everything what we are producing, what we are developing, all the technical solutions needs to be governed somehow, that they're not ending up in nowhere. So EENS is a large-scale pilot which started in 2013, so 1 year ago. The coordinator of EENS is the Ministry of Justice of North Rhine-Westphalia. My colleague is here with me today. And it will last 36 months, so it will end in spring 2016. And we have a project budget from 27 million euro. It's a co-funded project. That means half of it will be financed by the European Union. Several countries are participating in EENS. There are 20 countries, 18 member states, and Turkey and also Norway. And then the standardization organization ETSI is participating in our project, as well as the non-profit organization Open People. What is actually the goal of EENS? EENS improves the cross-border access of citizens and businesses to public services in Europe by providing interoperable IT solutions. So actually the overall goal of EENS is to facilitate the creation of a true digital single market in Europe. And how do we do this? Actually, we have kind of 3 keywords. It's called consolidate, improve, and extend. EENS builds on already existing solutions, because there have been previous large-scale pilots which facilitate the implementation of the digital agenda for Europe in key areas. So, for example, there have been PEPOL, which developed technical solutions in the e-procurement area. There has been SPOX, which was active in the e-business area. Then EPSOS for e-health. Stork was active in eID. There is another project which is called Stork 2.0, which develops further solutions for eID. And there's a 5th project, large-scale pilots, which is dealing with the area of e-justice. And actually you can see EENS as the mother of all these large-scale pilots, and we are consolidating the solutions which have been developed there. We improve them and try to develop generic modules, and we also want to extend the usage of our technical solutions to other domains, for example, e-education. We are actually focusing on several so-called high-level building blocks. They are e-identity, e-signature, e-documents, and also e-delivery. And these are also relevant building blocks which you can find in the Connecting Europe facility or in the in the CEF telecommunication work program for 2014. There is e-identity mentioned, e-signature, and also e-delivery. And then, of course, the EIDAS regulation is also very important for our project and also deals with these high-level building blocks. We want that these building blocks actually are reused across domains, and we are therefore piloting in several domains in EENS. We are piloting the high-level building blocks in the e-procurement area, in business lifecycle, in e-justice, and also in e-health. And then, of course, there is this project, but what kind of benefits do we get from this project? Actually, EENS looks at administration, IT industry, and citizens, and all these groups, they have benefit from the solutions we are developing. For example, member states will receive technical solutions allowing them to create interoperable, efficient, and reusable high-quality public services. Then also the IT industry will have access to open source solutions to be used in their own business services, and also citizens and entrepreneurs will reap benefits from public services, which will improve their freedom to move, live, and do business in Europe and other countries. And in EENS, we are kind of developing, we are piloting, we have a work package which deals with marketing and communication, but we also have a work package in EENS which is called Sustainability and Long-Term Governance, and actually I'm highly involved in this work package, and our goal is to pave the way for sustainability and long-term governance for actually our EENS building blocks for our results. So, and therefore we are concerned with long-term consolidation and maintenance of our building blocks, and we will also propose a long-term governance structure based on the experiences of the previous LSPs and the ones we are making right now. And in this respect, EENS is now 1 year old. We have kind of already a vision how it's going to look like and what kind of time frame we are looking at. So for now, we are investigating the short term, which means the current situation. What are we having there? What is in the project? What is our kind of external environment? And then we are thinking about the medium term. This means actually the safe framework after the expiration of EENS. So what can we hand over to the CEF? How can the CEF help us governing and maintaining our solutions? And then in the long term, we want to have, or we try to achieve somehow a self-sustaining governance structure, so that it's self-financing and that it's mainly taken up by, for example, the IT industry, that the solutions are taken up there. We already have different aspects in our mind what a governance structure should take into account. For example, it should be public sector driven. The member states shall have, at least in the midterm, a decisive role, but they shall be supported by the private stakeholders, by the IT industry, by users, and also standardization bodies. And also, this governance structure should focus on generic building blocks, on the high-level building blocks I was just mentioning, and but already consider domain-specific requirements and take these into account. So actually, we want to create an ecosystem over the time which requires architecture consistencies and aligned standards. And also a governance structure has different benefits, of course. It saves costs on the one hand, because when you're looking at these generic building blocks or generic technical solutions, they can be used by several or different domains. Governance structure helps aligning standards. It reduces time to market. There will also be, of course, a need to strongly link with different domains. Then the governance structure, of course, also helps maintaining the standards, but the most important thing is that it increases the interoperability. And therefore, we just have some ideas regarding the governance structure, but looking now at our situation, where right now we have different domains, we have different DGs, we have different member states, everybody is kind of developing his or her own solutions, but we all need to bring this together, that we all need to kind of avoid in the future this kind of fragmented environment we are facing right now. And therefore, a common governance structure is somehow needed. And this was also maybe some point we can discuss later. What do you think a governance structure shall take into account what the governance structure has? And I also think that we need to bring this idea forward, a governance structure for all digital solutions we are developing, so that it's not ending in nowhere. Okay, thank you.
What I suggest now then is our rapporteur and our two speakers take their places on the podium, and we get a chance to ask questions. So will somebody, Stefano will be looking after that? So there is a mic in the room, and I think what I would like is just to throw the floor open and ask for comments and questions. As I said, after Leda's introduction, one of the things I'm interested to take away by the end of the afternoon is what are the things we need to work on together. And I think from the two presentations, there was good news that some of the needs which were being underlined by Linda were described as part of the EENS project by Karen. And then the bad news is that long-term governance, we don't have it, we don't bring it together, and we don't have efficient cooperation either inside, outside, or within administrations. There was one extra point in the conclusions this morning which is relevant to that, and which will be, I think, one of the issues a lot of people discuss, not just in the government space. But the Prime Minister said what we need is not just a digital single market, but a single authority for digital. And of course, people in regulated sectors rushed up to me and said, does this mean a Euro regulator again? I'm not sure it does. But it raises questions about EU institutions. Do we need the European Council to have each member of the European Council a digital czar at home? Do we need a Digital Affairs Committee in the Parliament? And around issues like EENS, do the sort of CIO networks which run at very different levels between different administrations across Europe need to somehow be pulled together? So those are some issues I take out so far from what we've heard, but what do you, the audience, want to ask the experts on the panel? So we pass it maybe to the back first and then over here on the second row afterwards.
Thank you. I'm Bernard Lemasson from Accenture. I was very interested in your presentation, especially starting with Bologna. You raised the question about citizen participation, co-design, co-construction, and then the teaming with the private sector for the funding. So I kind of a double question. How do you measure actually citizen new behaviors? And do you know indeed that citizens take benefits of all the services you offer with your new platforms? So how can we engage citizens? I think we have seen in many countries it's not so obvious to scale the citizen participation. And then can you elaborate a bit more on the business case, the business model with the private sector? How does it work? Is it a win-win situation for private sector and public sector to work together on all these initiatives?
Okay. The first one about the engagement of citizens and the co-creation aspect. I have to say that this kind of relationship cannot be improvised. So was set times ago, and we have a quite huge community, digital community, and we gave internet for free since the mid of 90s. So also the average of the percentage of the internet connection in Bologna are very high. So there is let's say a tradition. But it's not easy, but it's not that easy, because the participation in decision-making process is a thing. The co-creation and co-production is another thing. A way to, let's say, consolidate this approach, this attitude, it's also to make it, let's say, formally rooted. So not a kind of voluntary attitude of citizens or for the administration, but root them in the legal framework, in the institutional framework. So we, the Bologna City, let's say, approved regulations. A regulation is formal, approved by the city council, that is called shared administration and common goods, that give the legal framework to that kind of relation. Just to, let's say, not only have the relationship with association, something that is formally consolidated, but also to the informal and, let's say, liquid participation and collaboration. But it's experimental. It's absolutely new. It's a new policy of the, so we have no evidence, scientific evidence, but it's true that the active citizenship it's increasing now. It's you can politically perceive that. The other, I don't know if I have answered.
Maybe we stop it there.
Because
and we
I'm
take
Italian, I'm talkative. Even if I'm not so comfortable in English, so
It's very good.
Yeah, thanks. And other thing is. Okay. Oh.
No, the English is very good. We had a second question over here.
Yes, Francesco Teodonno, IBM. More than a question to the speaker, I have a thinking that came out from the first three presentations, and I'm new on this responsibility of the digital agenda, but I mean, the simple thinking that I have, I heard before talking about transparency to involve more the citizen in the decision process and so on and so forth. And I mean, I got those three good examples. So my simple question or thinking is why we don't, as a European community, create a catalog which are the services that each of the cities should provide to its citizen, a standard for all Europe, which are the basic service that each of the citizens should access in each of the countries in Europe. Regardless technology, the way in which we achieve the goal, but I mean, let's define which are the final achievement that we want to have.
It may be that some of the panel would like to answer that, but if in the name of one of the EU institutions, just to respond immediately, it's not sure that people want the Commission to do it, and it's not sure we know what the list should be. But on the other hand, there's an alternative which Europe is developing, which is just open the European space for sharing. And in the Innovation Partnership for Active and Healthy Aging, just to give one example, where the safe curation of data for patients is a big issue. We've now got to the stage where we weren't 3-4 years ago, where, for example, Trentino was in a meeting in Brussels. They said, we now have a nice, available, open source, tried and tested platform. If anybody wants to test it and customize it for them, it's free.
I'm not willing to stop anything. I'm just willing to set the basic level available for each citizen.
Okay, so maybe...
I would like to answer to that because there are two things. I'm working quite a while in the IT, and I know that, let's say, maybe 20 years ago, the telecom industry tried to standardize service catalogs. They failed. On the other hand, what I see now is the consolidation in the public sector, even within the countries, is going on. Look at the municipalities. They offer today around about 1,000 services, even if it's a small municipality. How you want to categorize these services and standardize these services? There might be the ability to standardize, and that's another effort what's happening now, that one says, okay, we look at the most important 100 use cases and those services which can be shared between others. Full stop.
So then I think the gentleman 2 rows back and then further back still.
Yeah, my name is Guardian, and I'm with the Modernization Department at the Norwegian government. Just a very quick reply, really, or a comment to the last question. I did some research into the smart cities area, and I think there it seems like there is a there's a very extensive sharing between cities all over the world in terms of what they should do, what they can do, how they should do it. So there are plenty of lists like that for smart cities. Maybe we would need something for, let's say, more public administration area. And actually, it's even become a business where you can actually subscribe to let's say, best case information and ways to do things.
It's true that if you're thinking about the collaborative economy, you could put it all on Facebook and share. There's one guy at the back there, and then someone in the second row. So we go to the back first.
Yes, I want to share just three things too that came out from yesterday Restart Europe meeting with young people from everywhere in Europe. And one thing that is happening right now in Milan, and it's very useful for you and for what you said. The two things that came out yesterday about cities was two proposals for the future, visionary, to set up a roaming for public transport use, so a sort of possibility as for SIM in telecom industry to use public transport ticket in a sort of roaming in another city than yours. And another things were the Erasmus for public administrator, like a deputy mayor that could spend 6 months abroad in another city and vice versa, like the deputy mayor of Milan go in Copenhagen and back for 6 months. Those two fresh ideas from yesterday, young leader, one of the 10th ideas that is online right now. The third things I want to share is about ecosystem and interoperability. I want to share with you that in Milan, we did it 2 years ago because of Expo 2015. A big event will happen in 1 year time. It's called E015, and it's a governance structure, very, very successful, that helps collaboration between actors, companies, institutions that has data, that has open services, and let them use in a sort of negotiating table to build up services and mobile application and web solution for citizens. So I think that those two fresh ideas for the future, using roaming and Erasmus as totem, and this E015 reality could help you to see that from city, when Washington talks, city acts, like they said in US.
Thank you very much. And then the gentleman in the second row.
My name is Wilfried Bernhard. I'm Chief Information Officer of the German state, the Free State of Saxony, and I'm working also for the German IT Council, Planning Council, which is responsible for standardization of the different standards in Germany. And my experience is that you need in the federalism, as it is also on European level, you need one council or CRO organization which is responsible for all the different developments. You mentioned it, and I think it's a really important thing. But you also need legislation for standardization by law. And we have in Germany now a new government law, and at European level we have now the new ADAS regulation, and I think it will get in force in autumn. And my question is now, is there a link between the European projects to the legislation? I think especially EENS, there must be a link between the implementing acts from the Commission to the experiences coming from EENS or also from the cloud projects?
I give further down to
so maybe
Katrin,
both Linda and Katrin. You'd like
but the point is that we have as well published a legal document. We have a work package which is really working on legal constraints on adapting cloud computing, if there are any. The project has not 20 partners, but 20 nations, but 24 partners, but 12 nations. So the most important part is to identify which legal obstacles are there, and there are not that many. Okay, text data is not allowed to cross the country, and that's in each nation in Germany.
Because we in EENS we also have a work package which is dealing with legal aspects. It's called Legal Competence Center, and they are also looking at the obstacles. They are making recommendations. They are looking at the European legislation. They are looking at the national legislation, and also all the different partners from all the European countries are bringing in their legislations, their different laws, etc., so that we can also kind of be aligned there. So I think it's, of course, it's a very big thing, and we're dealing with it.
Thank you. Gentleman at the back and the lady at the front. So let's take these next three comments one after the other, and then we will wrap up the first session. Oops. No?
Okay, great. So I'm Irena from HP. So we heard a lot, obviously, speaking about interoperability, open platforms, and so on. This was also present in a couple of interventions in the session with Nelly Cruz this morning. Just curious, because obviously the Commission has set this vision on interoperable platforms, no vendor lock-in a long time ago. So, and it has done its job, but reality of the market is that if you look at the member states' reality, even two different systems of two ministries don't talk to each other. So I was just curious in hearing the thoughts of the panelists, what should we be doing to connect the dots between the European Commission's vision and make sure that that top-down approach would actually have also a bottom-up type of follow-up? Thank you.
Thank you. And then right behind you.
Hi, my name is Frank Leijman from FedEx in Belgium. I have a question for Katrin. I see that EENS is progressing well, but I would like to know what is exactly the role of industry in EENS. Are they a user? Are they a subcontractor? Are they a partner? It's not clear to me what kind of role they play. And if there is a role they play, could you also tell me who decided on that particular role? Was that the member states? Was that the European Commission? Or did you just come up by talking to that point? Thank you.
Thank you. And then there was a third speaker. Yeah.
Lorenzo Gonzalez, HP. I had the opportunity yesterday to have one of the best experiences in my professional life, facilitating 25 out of the 150 people, young innovators at Restart Europe. So we talk about digital democracy. I want to take the point about the Tim Berners-Lee sentence that you mentioned. I love that sentence. The web is about how doing the things, not about the technology underneath. So we brought 2 points that are 2 kind of services that are part of the paper submitted to Neelie Kroes today. And one is about one-click government, providing one single point as interface with profiling for people finding everything about a relationship with public administration. One place to go, one place to click, immediate responses instead of moving through places. The second was about accountability by design to move from the problems in a representative and direct democracy, leveraging the web as a way to crowdsource new ideas, to create laws, to create solutions. So we're leveraging the power of many. So these 2 kind of solution or services, whatever, are things that are not typically part of innovation programs, because I'm working with the FP7 Horizon 2020, and it is, we are moving incrementally. So have you any option experience how to bring new disruptive ideas like those or anyone else into production, into your projects or into European projects for the future?
So let's hear any reactions down the table. Katrin, there was a specific question on EENS.
Okay, so to the specific one, thank you for your question. Actually, we have like several partners within EENS, also partners from the private sector. And these are like grouped in one special entity together. And also we have partners which work, or the IT industry, which works, of course, as a subcontractor. Regarding the involvement of the IT industry, actually we are planning to involve them in the future more to get feedback from the IT industry on what we are developing. We are planning different consultation meetings on our different building blocks we're having. And then we will have in November, for example, in Luxembourg, we will have a meeting on EENS where this will be where hopefully also the partners from the industry will be involved. Like the first of EENS was kind of like investigating the baseline, what is already there, what I said, or the different large-scale pilots, what kind of building blocks are they having, and now we are starting developing or consolidating somehow so they can be reused. And actually this is now a very good point to involve the IT industry. Maybe not directly currently as a partner, but for example, getting feedback for consultation, etc.
I think we both answered some points. So yeah. one point I go back to the HP question. So you're right, there's a lot of legacy. There's a lot of standards available. So one thing is that was one reason I still promote cloud as an infrastructure is that we can try to have a kind of standardized services which are easy to use. The other thing is, what we always need and what we always will have is a legacy integration. So we will not overcome this problem of legacy integration. So, and how we do that is just going in the direction not only on standardized interfaces, but what is important is open interfaces, as well as basically partially open source. So. Yeah, so it's always a trade-off with open source, yes or no, but it's the most important part is for me still open interfaces to make sure that you can adapt to what is existing and you cannot renew everything. A short answer to your question is, because that's exactly very interesting, having like this innovation management. So it could be interesting to running as well, like what I thought about the broker of cloud services, having like a similar innovation management systems where you can have a platform and one party is bringing in its ideas, the other partner like business angels helping to establish a company, and then you have as well in that platform those who have the money to support that, or you use that for crowdsourcing. I think it's a very great idea. It should be a huge project for the next phase.
Can I add just a very brief? Oops. Yeah, we do exactly that in the ICT project framework. It's all about co-design infrastructure, the platform, and is that job is done together with the communities of developers and the civic hackers, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy, but it works. And now we are in the in consolidating phase of the engagement of that communities. But that implies that the internal management of the municipality, I think I talk about municipality, but the local authority or the public administration have to change. That is the point. And one is, together with the money, the other obstacle. The most important obstacle.
I wonder why the rapporteur looks at the chairman. The Commission has no money. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to say a few words to sum up this first session where we've been beginning to unpack things about smart government, and the program says after a short break we talk about modernization. In practice, you can't be smart if you don't modernize, and you can't modernize if you're not smart. So I suspect some of the themes from the beginning will come into the second part. And I would just like to say that there are two threads that I personally see coming out of this first session. I mean, firstly, what should the markets be that are being created? I think it's very interesting just noting them. You have new markets like the idea about roaming for public transport, which is really interesting, although only for people who travel from city to city. You have the cloud broker. I don't understand cloud, I get it through a broker. Do I trust the broker? Which I see as the Uber versus taxi problem in the area of services procurement. You have the question about city to city. Why isn't there a Facebook page where cities share for free their solutions with each other? And can the Commission help do that? You might need, the example quoted in the discussion, a place where other people than city governments or national governments share solutions to their own problems. So government is the broker, the intermediary, it's government as a platform. And in each of these cases, we're creating markets where assets can be pooled to deliver solutions. So we're going back to what was discussed this morning around the collaborative economy, but collaborative public goods. The second question is what governance makes that work? And one issue that we've talked about a bit, well, I asked the question at the beginning, but I think we come back to more in the second half, is what culture should public servants have to make this work? And the idea of the one-stop shop, which one of the last questioners raised, goes directly to that, because in order to have a one-stop shop, public servants have to have a vision that it's the overall performance of the state for the citizen that matters most, as opposed to I do my bit. And that's quite hard. So the whole culture, the people side, and maybe the Erasmus, whether for mayors or for administrators, would help, but I'm not sure how many taxpayers would favor me spending 6 months learning, as I would love to do in Rome or Cologne, how to do it. The second question is the legal basis. The legal basis for government as a platform. So if we build a platform as government, at whatever level, people come in, they do things, and it all falls apart and people die, how do we deal with that? How do we make sure the platform doesn't fall down? And also the German e-government law, how much do you need to legislate and harmonize, because it's a very slow, heavy process, especially at European level. Getting that legal basis right, can we do it by standards instead? I think the ETSI participation in EENS is, I would characterize it as a crucial experiment, whether we can bring the standards-making machine closer and do away with the need for primary legislation. And the other part, which I mentioned in passing at the beginning, what sort of EU-wide linkages and networks do we need to build? Is the status quo enough, fed also by informal projects like EENS? Do we need a coherent authority of some sort? Do the CIOs need a bigger mandate from the European Council, stronger support to make it work? So those are all sorts of interesting questions. The joker which was raised right at the end is, could we do better in this whole area by giving the problem to business and buying the solution, which some in the room might favor? Should we do better, which is the British government digital service solution, by disrupting the provider market and disruptive commissioning of little bits of service that we bolt together ourselves in the public sector? Is there a mix there? And if so, what's the right mix? So fascinating. I'm going to give everybody 10 minutes off, and we start the second part a bit before past, so that we can have time to pull the two parts together before we stop. But I'd like already to thank our first rapporteur and our first two presenters. So, ladies and gentlemen, you always know it's at least an interesting conference when people have time to talk in the coffee break and things to talk about. But as I say, my only goal today is to make sure that our rapporteur can both arrive in time for the plenary, and I think we're not too bad on timing. So we have for the second session focusing a bit more on public sector modernization as the rapporteur Stefano Pizzicanella, and I would like to say a special personal word of thanks to Stefano because being the chair of organizing something like this from a distance, sometimes you get worried. I have always been extremely happy and calm and well served, and Stefano has been my email interlocutor, so thank you, Stefano. As the rapporteur, Stefano, and then we have Pier Marconi from Rome on the national digital agenda, and Veronica Cretu as a civil society representative to explain to us, I hope at the end, how nothing we do is quite right for civil society. I hope for really challenging remarks. Stefano.
Thanks. Thank you, Robert, for the nice words, and thanks to all the participants for coming back to the second half of this session. The focus of the second half of this session, as Robert said, is on public sector modernization and how actually public sector modernization intended as a, I would say, as a whole of government issue can be tackled at the international level. I would just spend a few words to set the tone for the discussion today and in the second part. So this is just, I personally work at the Department of Public Administration, where I deal with international relations. And as you can see, the Department of Public Administration that is in charge of delivering on the public modernization agenda, what they're doing now. And I call first, I think, Pier Marconi, who is head of the Department for Public Administration.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to Stefano for having introduced me. Let me first of all thank all the organizers of this event, so the Italian government, the European Commission, and the city of Venice. And I'm sorry to correct a little bit what our chair of this panel told before while introducing me. I'm the head of the Department for Public Administration. I'm not the head of the digital agenda in Italy. The Department of Public Administration is going to be involved in the digital agenda because the current Minister for Public Administration is also the Minister for Digitalization in government, but we have a special dedicated national agency dealing with the digital agenda, which name is EGID. Actually, EGID has played a great role in the organization of this meeting, and it also an actor participating in several European projects, including some of those that has been presented before. As has been already said by the chair and Stefano, we are going to talk about public sector modernization. So in this part, how can I move the? Okay. So in this second part of this workshop, we will be dealing with the modernization of public sector perspective much more than the smart government perspective. Public sector modernization is a long-standing has been a long-standing policy objective for many governments. OECD published in the early 2000 a study based on the review of 2 decades of public sector modernization in then 30 member countries. And this study identified 7 levers as the most important ones in terms of public sector modernization. As you can see, e-government, that was the time of e-government, is not among them, but we all know that things changed quite a lot. Still, open government was there, and open government, what was considered important also at that time, I want to say it again, based on a 20 years review of public sector modernization, was transparency of information, access to services and also to information, and as well as responsiveness to citizens based on citizen consultation and engagement. The other important levers identified were public sector performance through different systems such as performance management system as well as performance budgeting system, the control system, both internal and external, ex ante and ex post systems, the reallocation of resources within the state budget in order to fund policy priorities within the overall limits, the restructuring of government, meaning the change of organizational structure, the use of market-type mechanisms, such as outsourcing public-private partnerships, the use of vouchers in order to access to public services provided by private entities, and finally modernize the public employment through a number of devices aimed at increased delegation within government regarding human resources management, element of individualizing human resources management by introducing contracts, public performance-related paying, and also the importance given to the senior civil service as a lever to use in order to modernize public sector. The importance of public sector modernization is even more important today because of the economic and financial crisis, which has shown that improved service delivery and internal public sector efficiency go together with economic and social development. Within this framework, we have to also take into account that not only the economic environment has changed, but also the technological environment. And public sector modernization today needs to be dealing with the new digital environment, which, as we have been discussing today, which offers opportunities for more collaborative and participatory relationships with all relevant stakeholders, the citizens, the business community, and the other organizations like non-government organizations. And this improved possibility of engagement determines the possibility for the citizens and stakeholders to shape political priorities and to collaborate, to cooperate in the design of public services and also to participate in their delivery. The challenge today, because of this new environment, is not to introduce digital technology into public administrations, but to integrate their use into the public sector modernization efforts, and not only to support the internal government processes, but in order to reshape the government action. Therefore, public sector capacities, business processes, and frameworks need to be adapted to the rapidly evolving dynamics enabled by the digital government. The digital enabled participation and production of services is changing people's expectations towards government regarding their relationship with government. Governments anticipating citizens' need. We are now in an environment where citizens and business can determine their own needs and can address their needs in partnership with government. Of course, more open approaches to policy making and to public service delivery require government to reorganize themselves around the user expectation rather than around their own internal logic and needs. And in order to do that, governments need to ensure new capacities, new competencies, also new regulation, new structure, new system in order to manage their organization differently, and in order to meet this new vision of public sector modernization, which is very much influenced by the new technological environment. In order to do that, the OECD has identified 12 principles which are making up guidelines, new guidelines to develop and implement digital strategies. This is quite a new device which has been prepared with the cooperation of all member countries, and which the Council is going to adopt and to make them as a recommendation, which is an instrument which is not legally binding, but which assume that member countries approving them are committed to implement them. I'm going through them very quickly. They, as I told you, they are 12, and the first one is to ensure greater transparency, openness, and inclusiveness of government processes and operations. The second one is encourage engagement and participation of public, private, and civil society stakeholders in policymaking and public service design and delivery. The third one is create a data-driven culture in the public sector. The fourth, reflect a risk management approach to addressing digital security and privacy issues, and include the adoption of effective and appropriate security measure, secure leadership and political commitment to the strategy, ensure coherent use of digital technologies across policy areas and the levels of government. 7, establish effective organizational and governance framework to coordinate the implementation of the digital strategy within and across levels of government. 8, strengthen international cooperation with other governments. I will come back to this in the last part of my presentation 9, develop clear business cases to sustain the funding and focused implementation of digital technologies project. We saw through the experience of the city of Bologna that this is an important aspect. 10, reinforce institutional capacity to manage and monitor project implementation. 11, procure digital technologies based on assessment of existing assets. 12, ensure that general and sector-specific legal and regulatory frameworks allow digital opportunities to be seized. As I told you before, I'm going to, in order to try to conclude my my presentation on the European cooperation and on the proposal that has been put forward by the European Commission for this in this field. I would like to say a few additional words on international cooperation. Also, Stefano in his introduction mentioned it. And I would like to say that in a digital environment, international cooperation, public sector modernization is especially important. It can help maximize the benefit that can emerge in early knowledge sharing among member countries. In general terms, international cooperation is a good thing as it can assist governments in delivering on public sector modernization agendas by sharing practices and comparative analysis, drafting guidelines, as in the case of the guidelines that I presented you a moment ago, and engaging in peer reviews. And this is, and I can say that not just in principle, but based on my own experience regarding the participation within the OECD Public Governance Committee, as well as within the European Public Administration Network, to which I will come back in a moment, Champions Network. And today we are going to discuss about the public sector modernization high-level group as for the European Commission proposal. Regarding this proposal, I think that this could provide both the European Commission and member states with an overall framework within which integrate all the digital instances that are quite separated together with the other areas. But as it is also said in the proposal set forward by the Commission, there will be the need to review the existing networks in the different areas in order not to continue to add on existing networks, probably because none of them is considered satisfactory. But I think, and I'm really going to end my presentation, that I think that as you can have read in the papers for this meeting, that this the Italian semester, together with the coincidence with the new Commission, can provide a good opportunity to discuss and take a decision regarding this proposal. And within the Italian presidency and within the and linked to the EUPAN network program for the Italian presidency, we decided to organize a ministerial meeting at the beginning of December, which could be the right place where to take decision regarding this this proposal, as the political level could take the opportunity to endorse this important proposal. We also have in our program for the European presidency regarding UPAN, a review of the UPAN mission, because this is inbuilt in the mission of the UPAN to periodically go through a review in order to understand if it still provides member countries with an important contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia. And I may now invite our second speaker, Mrs. Veronica Cretu. And I'm particularly pleased to have her here because, of course, she's a beautiful colleague of ours. She represents the civil society, so after the previous speakers, a civil society representative is, I think, will give an added value to our discussion. And I would just like to mention a few things about Veronica. She's from Moldova, and she has a very peculiar position within the organization of the OGP, the Open Government Partnership. She will tell you more about that. And she's, as I said, representing the civil society organizations within the OGP. So I leave the floor to Veronica. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefano. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stefano, for this introduction. Indeed, I come from Moldova. Has anyone been to Moldova? Oh, nice. Okay, one person in the room. Moldova has just signed the association agreement, and we're very proud of having made this step. So, indeed, whatever is happening at the country level, there's discussions about open data, digitization, it's all taking place there. And I'm very proud that whatever the government has been doing during the past 3-4 years is in line with the policies that are being embedded by the European Union. In Moldova, I run the Open Government Institute, which is a non-governmental organization. We do a lot of work around policy elaboration, working on a number of sectors, education, open government, open education, and some other areas. In Moldova, I also run a civil society working group on e-government and open government. The civil society group is part of the National Participation Council. You would be wondering what that National Participation Council is all about. This is a civil society advisory body to the government of Moldova. It has been established, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago by the new government. The very moment the communists left, we had the pro-democratic government in place who decided to open up venues and opportunities for civil society to engage in a more qualitative way around policymaking. So I lead the working group within this broad National Participation Council. And as Stefano has introduced me, I'm also a civil society representative on the steering committee of something that's called Open Government Partnership. And I will explain a little bit later what does OGP, Open Government Partnership, stand for. Before I departed for Venice, I started wondering about, because the title of the session is Smart Government, Public Sector Modernization, I started wondering about what does smart government stand for? And actually, if you do a Google search, there is no a uniformed kind of agreement vis-a-vis what does smart government stand for. There is always kind of interpretation smart government is open government, and this is what I found. The first that you see on the top, this is an attempt made by governments who met in Dubai some time ago to formulate the definition of smart government, and this is what they came up with. Seamless, multi-channel, a smart government is accessible, reliable, and timely. And the words you see below, this is something what my daughters came up with. The 9 years old and 14 years old, we had a brainstorming exercise before mommy departed for Venice, and they said a smart government would be the one which is serious, which is mature, which is ambitious, result-oriented, and timely, delivers on time. So my story about smart government and open government and OGP departs in a way from this key principles. Another question is, does smart government also mean open government? And let's look what open government stands for. And we heard today, the other speakers have mentioned, and we had a civil society session earlier this morning. Thank you very much for colleagues in civil society for organizing that. An open government is a government that makes information about its activities, its decisions, transparent, comprehensive, timely, freely available to the public, and meets basic open data standards. I would also say that freely available doesn't mean that this documents and this information is available only in the digital form. I think we have to be very careful about the fact that we have thousands, and if we talk about the globe, we have billions who are not yet connected to the internet, and they should also be benefiting from the value of open government. So this information has to be available both online and offline. What else does an open government do? It provides an opportunity and infrastructure for citizens to engage in public debate, to communicate input, and to make contributions that would lead to more responsive and effective government. And an open government is also a government that has very clear rules and regulations and mechanisms which require government officials, regardless of what level they are, national or local government, to justify their actions, to act upon criticism, and there is a lot of criticism, we know, or requirements that made of them, and accept responsibility for those failures that have happened in their activities. These are the key pillars of open government. This is how I personally see open government. It's based on the 4 core pillars. It's citizen-centered, it's open, transparent, and collaborative, it's innovative and technology and acts as a technology enabler, but innovation is not only in the technology. Innovation is also, from my perspective, in the way government designs policies and interacts with its citizens. And it's not always the technology that is in the middle. And an open government is an accountable government, is one that has mechanisms in place for the citizens to be able to monitor, evaluate, and make contributions around the services that the government provides. PM just made reference to the OECD recommendations. I departed from OECD recommendations going back to 2001 on citizens as partners. And I configured very clear framework for how open government engages its citizens around policymaking. An open government is a government that at level 1 makes sure that provides access and information. I remember that one of the very interesting commitments that Finland made as part of OGP, and I will immediately share with you what OGP is all about, is to bring clear language, to make sure that those documents, the strategy papers, the policy papers, that are very terminology-driven, these are papers that are designed for experts. These are not papers that are designed for regular citizens. So an open government makes sure that it provides access and information also in a clear language so that regular citizens can easily engage. At level 1 is consultation. This is where an open government runs different models and different forms of consultation, online, offline. I remember often, because as I said, National Participation Council, we meet with our Prime Minister and with a number of ministers who are interested in the position of the civil society. I often used to hear some kind of replies related to, we put the documents online, We put that document online, but citizens are not giving their feedback. We have zero feedback, no ideas, no implication for the citizenry. And they believe that this is consultation. It's not consultation. Consultation is something that is more deeper, and it implies several other mechanisms in place. And open government also treats citizens in regards to their engagement in decision making. We are talking about mobile and internet access and stuff like that. I think one of the ways people could participate in decision making is through some polling and opinion polling and different yes, no, I agree on this, I disagree. So level 3 implies very specific mechanisms for people to be able to engage in decision making before any decisions are being approved at national or local level. And then an open government is the one that creates mechanisms for citizens to engage in monitoring and evaluation, and it's not for the purpose of criticism. It's for the purpose of improving the services that at the end of the day benefit the citizens themselves. How does open government partnership, the one that I am sitting on the steering committee, promote and build open government, and how does that contribute to public sector reform? If you look at this map, which is really nice, I really like it, you see there are a total, as of today, we have 64 governments that are part of open government partnership. The colors are different because these countries have joined in different phases. We had cohort 1, cohort 2, 3, and 4. And interestingly enough, Europe has the most number of countries that have joined. We have 28 countries in Europe that are members of the open government partnership. This partnership was created to help the governments work better. I often used to say that open government partnership helps making governments better. And in addition to that, to renew public trust in institutions by making governments more open and more responsive to the citizens. The concept around OGP, as we say, started some years ago, back in 2011. Actually, it was a response to Obama's call for how governments should act in this globalized economy with attempts to build open societies. What should be there in place so that we can have more proper work around making governments better. So it was in September 2011 in New York when 8 founding governments, together with civil society organizations from around the world, created or established open government partnership. You see Brazil, Indonesia, Philippines, Mexico, Norway, South Africa, UK, and United States are the parents of the OGP. They were the first ones to adopt the Open Government Declaration and announce their first OGP national action plans. The mission, and I will be very quick, it's at 2 levels. It provides an international platform to connect, empower, and encourage domestic reformers, those reformers who are committed to transforming government and society through the principles of openness, inclusiveness, participation. And at the country level, I think Stefano was saying, we have nice policies, we have different documents, but how do we practically implement them? So in OGP, there is a domestic policy mechanism, which really is about elaborating national action plans around open government. And it's not only elaborate those national action plans on open government, is to co-create and co-design them together with civil society, at least to consult extensively those national action plans with civil society. The theory of change of OGP states clearly, to have an open government agenda in place, one needs really 3 critical things. You really need to have high-level political support. If there is no high-level political support, it's very difficult to move ahead with this agenda. It is important to empower government reformers. Any change lies with people. It's not with the technology. These are the people who are driving the change. And the theory of change of OGP says, work with the champions. Work with those people who believe in that type of change. Work with the open-minded reformers. Support them. So this is the second pillar. And the third one is supporting the effective engagement of civil society organizations. As I said before, the national action plans have to be co-designed, co-created together with civil society. And of course, we have a reporting mechanism. The OGP provides an independent reporting mechanism. And here in the room, by the way, you have the independent reporting mechanism researcher for Italy. Andrea, can you just wave your hand? Okay. This is the person who did assess the way Italian government has implemented, has managed or succeeded to implement the first action plan of Italy around open government. As I said, 64 governments are part of it. France was the last one to join. It was very recently in May. Ever since the OGP has been created, there were more than 1,000 commitments that were made by the countries. We met twice in Brasilia and London, bringing together government reformers, civil society activists, hackers, developers, thousands of people who are really showing that open government is a need. There is a movement. It's something that is really kind of, we are desperate for it. We really need it in order to move ahead with this very tough and ambitious agendas that we have. There are 44 IRM reports. If you are interested to hear about how other countries have performed, you're interested to see how US performed, UK, Moldova, and some other countries, there are these reports available online. And countries, especially those that are cohort 2, as Moldova or Italy, they have to already have their second action plans in place. If your country joins, it signs an open government declaration. As I said, elaborates a country action plan. Usually it's a 2-year country action plan. It is able to conduct self-assessment reports. It accepts civil society reports and criticism and feedback, and it accepts to conduct independent reporting mechanism. What does it mean? It means you as a government provide access to information and engage with the independent researcher around the country's action plan. Minimum criteria that any government needs to have to join this global partnership: fiscal transparency, access to information, asset disclosure, and civic participation. And if your country scores at least 75% of the total possible points, then it is eligible to join the OGP. This is how the National Action Plan process runs. It's the action plan process. It's elaborated, implemented, self-assessed, and independent report. And then feedback from the independent report should be able to contribute to the second action plan. IRM, Andrea is here in the room. IRM is a very powerful tool. Why? It has a very solid, very comprehensive methodology. There is an enormous list of indicators that one needs to look at. It's very serious. OGP is not a free ride. It's really very serious. So the researcher look at the way, as I said before, your government implemented those commitments that it made as part of the National Action Plan. It looks, what were those commitments? Have they been completed? Did they matter? Did they produce any change? So what if they were implemented? Is there any impact? It looks also at the current challenges and at the next steps. Some very, very quick statistics. As we look at those reports, those 64 governments, 73% of them managed to have in-person consultation with civil society stakeholders, which is really good. 42% established ongoing regular dialogue platforms with civil society. As I said, I'm part of the National Participation Council, which is a civil society advisory body, but believe me, not all countries have this mechanism in place. There is a growing number of countries that have created multi-stakeholder initiatives or bodies to oversee the implementation. And countries like Argentina, OGP is the only platform that brings government and civil society to talk together. I will skip this and very quickly on what is OGP bringing for European partners. As I mentioned before, there is a cycle for National Action Plan elaboration, an OGP declaration, independent reporting mechanisms. Pia mentioned that high-level working group on public sector modernization. And from the perspective of the open government, I think it's really worth looking at how to engage in that debate the civil society representatives, both in EU and non-EU member countries, especially just one example in the Eastern Partnership countries. As I said, Moldova joined the EU Association Agreement along with Ukraine and Georgia, and I think there is a potential to look at how to broaden and deepen the engagement around this public sector modernization concept and philosophy. I think another way to benefit from that is to connect parliamentarians in both EU and non-EU member countries around open government and public sector modernization. Parliamentary diplomacy is something that is really worth considering. Rethink the core competences of public servants today. We need public servants who are open-minded, who are critically thinking, who are open thinkers, who are futuristic thinkers, those who are able to produce and to make reforms. And just to conclude, I think I will leave the other recommendations with colleagues, and will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, and if the speakers and the rapporteur, Stefano, will come, this is difficult, so we need somebody else to carry the mic. Who's going to start the mic? Great, so Marco looks after the mic and Stefano comes up. I would just like to take 3 comments on those 2 presentations. The first is, I think it's extremely important to know that the Italian presidency is planning a ministerial meeting on these issues. That gives me a lot of hope for the 3rd of December. The second point is what was said right at the end: don't do public sector modernization without civil society, which is hard. How do you do the sort of inward-looking and the outward-facing discussions? And the third is that maybe I turn this into a question, and so I ask a question. We looked at the 4 levels of open government, and I wondered whether in the OGP model you've examined what I think of as the 5th level, which is government as a platform, government providing the tools for citizens to do the job. In my view, that's very relevant, not just at municipal level, but in the area I deal with of broadband. Citizens want to be empowered to dig the fiber in their own villages, and there are so many rules and regulations which get in the way. So there are examples where government as a platform is not government doing less, but government empowering citizens. So maybe I just throw that question. Is that an aspect that has been discussed in OGP? Veronica? I mean, since you're the big expert on OGP.
It's a very interesting and delicate question. I think in OGP, we have been ambitious about creating spaces for governments and civil society to engage around some policy issues. And as I said before, for some countries, the only venue for governments and citizens to interact is around national action plans on open government. And I think the benefit is in the process, is in trying to infuse new thinking patterns, if you want. And if that is going to happen in one particular sector, and the pattern is going to be duplicated or replicated in other sectors like the one you mentioned, I think that's going to be the most important value added of the OGP.
So collective learned success. So the floor is open. Who would like to ask comments and questions?
Robert, I read half an hour ago a tweet from, I think, Lorenzo Gonzalez. He was just making a consideration on the OECD guidelines, and you were in your tweet underlining that there's something missing on digitalization. So maybe you can share that with us.
Say it in your own words.
Just a second. Just to be precise on what I said. Just give me a second. Too many tweets. My point was there were a number of guidelines, but digitalization was perceived as a tool. Even I also recalling the Tim Berners-Lee, it is my preferred sentence. Thank you for sharing. The thing is that if we use technology as a tool, we are taking some advantages and benefits, no argue, so that's good. But if we rethink the things by leveraging the technology in a new way, we can have much more benefits. The experience in business processes, reorganization in the industries demonstrated that just trying to automate the things is a step. But if you want to build a car, you rethink everything on the base, on the purpose of the car. Everything is designed on that purpose. And the tools are used to make the things that you cannot do. Balancing tools, a human contribution, etc. So that was the reason of my tweet. I found a number of good things. I agree on any point. But it is, we are centered on what we do, and we are leveraging the tools. That is my feeling. Leveraging the tools to make it better. To me, the goal should be the opposite. We have new tools to rethink what we do.
That's an interesting question, and it depends a bit where you sit. I mean, the Renzi vision was forget about the tools, explain how it's good for citizens. So if he was standing here and he said, but I don't want to start with the tools, I want to start with the citizen. How do you reconcile the need for citizens to see a benefit with your very professional perception that we have to start from the tools?
It is a fair question. I'm influenced by my background, of course. What I learned yesterday with the young talents is that they have a different ways of thinking even compared with mine. They are thinking about things under a perspective I don't have. So it was a great number of lessons I learned. Everybody of us has a different way of working, so I understand we have to balance legacy and let me call it offline ways of working, because there are people in the digital divide space and other simply cannot use in a moment, and people that want to use. This kind of balancing is a very complex affair, I understand. But if we can move inside the administration, at least, to this way to think the things differently, and so fully leverage what we can do with the usage of technologies, we can achieve a disruptive result. Takes time, takes a culture. There was culture in some presentation, so that's the path. Just thinking e-vote, it is another way of voting. It's not a way to change the way we live democracy. We are engaging in democracy. So it is just a simple tool. So this is an example that we debated yesterday. The e-vote can be part of a platform to have a different engagement of citizens in the discussion. Citizens must be engaged. That is a different degree with a later speech. Citizens must be engaged, because to express a criticism is easy, but to participate means that we have to discuss the things. So that is the kind of way we can achieve. Of course, there are different speeds, and we have to find ways to do the things. So it is not a simple exercise, and not be black or white. It will be a number of degrees of grays. But I start thinking differently can bring us to the top speed much sooner than just trying to do incrementally, one step after the other, as usual.
Okay, other comments? Here at the front, Mr. Tati.
Thank you. My name is Daniele Tati. I work for the Agency for Digital Italy. I personally liked very much the speech by Veronica Cretu, because she was talking a lot of the open government movement, which is very powerful and which Italy is participating since some time. But what I want to say, it can be trivial maybe, is that despite the fact that Veronica didn't talk a lot about digital in its presentation, if you look very closely, you understand that anything that she told about is implicitly called for a wide adoption of very disrupted digital technology in government. For example, if you recall the slide with the 4 levels of openness that government can achieve, from the first one of giving wide information to citizens up to the 4th, that is letting citizens monitoring the implementation of their policy, in the current society, this requires a lot of digital, because even informing people now doesn't mean exposing a PDF document on a website. But if you just want to arrive to the point that citizens can monitoring implementation of government policies, you have to imagine something very different from what we have now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Yeah, lady here.
Roberta Capuis from the Venice City Council. Of course, it's in discuss that digital is the topic and is the most important aspect we are discussing this evening. But I have a suggestion and maybe a question for Pia concerning the modernization of public administration. I think that beyond the digital agenda, we also probably need a change of mind to modernize public administration. That means that it's in Italy, but probably this is a problem or a topic that interests also all the other European countries. Our public administration are suffering also because are organized in a logic of silos with different departments that have a clear difficulty in working together, and so we really need to pass to a different logic of integrated project, and in a cross-cutting with cross-cutting methods. So the question can be: what's the government, the Italian government, doing for this? Shall we have an experiment, a different organization also inside the our public administration in order to deliver projects and to have a clear impact on the society, of course, starting from the involvement of citizens. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think that the point raised is very important because it is absolutely true that we need in our public administration, but this is not a problem that we only have in Italy. As we can see from international analysis and experiences presentation, so it's there is the need for a cultural change at all levels, from the very top level, political level, down to the employees, going through the senior civil servants. And there is also a need to change the approach to public sector modernization policies that must have, also with the help of the digitalization, break the silos, which is a typical difficulties that all governments have, and also government at all levels have to organize itself and taking decision in a whole government perspective, which means starting with the problem to be solved, starting with the need to be addressed, rather than starting from how government agencies at different levels are organized.
Thank you. Please. So we take the last two comments, one here and one at the back, and then we begin summing up, because we have to...
Yeah, Irena from HP. I just had a very quick question for Mrs. Marconi. I was interested in understanding which were the major challenges you face at national level against the OECD guidelines, and whether you could already share, I realize we're early stages, but some thoughts on the sense of travel for the ministerial meeting in December that you mentioned, because as Robert said, it is clear that, you know, the ministerial meeting in December, it's sending a very strong message from the Italian government's perspective. So anything you could share on the sense of travel would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I think there were two questions. No? The first was to Veronica. So what are the things that were most difficult in Moldova in doing open government? And then the second was to Pia, which is what's going to happen on the 3rd of December.
Okay. The most difficult, the challenges. Okay. A number of challenges. And I think, first of all, we did have high-level political support and commitment. The challenge was how to mobilize civil society around issues, emerging trends, when the civil society is fully donor-based and there is no grants provision, there is no funding for engaging in consultations. Nobody promises you any initiatives, any funding. So the challenge is how to really support engagement from the civil society, how to boost the demand for more openness, transparency, and participation, how to really make sure that civil society understands what does open government mean and what do they have to benefit. And I think this is a still long process ahead. We still have to learn how to do that, because from my perspective, open government is not just about the government. Open government is about you and me and everyone. It departs from the way we act on a daily basis, the way we run our businesses. We cannot expect someone there, you know, the government, to be open and transparent while we sit relaxed and do nothing. So to infuse this kind of thinking in the societies, especially in the part of the world I come from, 70 plus years of Soviet regime, is not that easy. Is not that easy to be implemented. That's the biggest challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Pia?
Thank you. As for the first question on challenges towards Italy, based on the OECD guidelines, is quite difficult to select the ones that are not challenging for Italy, except one, if I may, which is the number, I don't know what number, but the number 5, secure leadership and political commitment in the strategy. I think that we are now in a very different situation regarding this point in the guidelines, as I think all of you, not me, because I was in a different meeting, could hear this morning from the Prime Minister of Italy. Regarding this second question that you raised on the ministerial meeting, as I wanted to say before, but I'm not sure that I told that before, this is within the program of the European semester regarding this public administration network, EUPAN, which, as I told you before, meets, although not so regularly in each presidency of the EU at the ministerial level. We decided with Minister Madia and President Renzi to do that in our presidency, and we are gathering the consensus of other ministers. We got already the approval and the willing to participate and contribute to the actively to the agenda by the Minister Maud of the UK. We identified as an overarching theme for the ministerial meeting the role that open government strategies have in shaping public sector modernization policy, which is a theme that can link together more traditional modernization issues with the digital agenda side of the coin of modernization. I think that the proposal made by the Commission of this high-level group of modernizing public sector could be discussed at the political level in that meeting if there is the agreement of all those that are concerned, because the Commission is traditionally is always involved in the meeting of the UPAN when they are held at the DG level, as well as when they are held at the ministerial political level. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can just add one comment, I mean, the paper which you kindly attribute to the Commission has been co-created mainly with the pen of several sort of CIOs and change agents at national level. So while we have provided a space for that drafted group to work, we have been very much on not on the driving seat, which makes the content all the more pleasing to me. So we have two more short comments from the floor, and then summing up, please.
Thank you. My name is Alberto Alemano. I attended the Restart Europe yesterday, during which we have been discussing about digital democracy. I have a question for all of you, since you're all high-rank officials. You have been following from civil society what is going on in this debate. I feel the existence of a tension between the imperative of modernization and the political priorities of many politicians. I wonder which are the incentives for the political class to embrace this form of public administration, which is smart, which tend to hold accountable politicians for their actions, for what they do, with their own, let's say, preferences. Where can we find this incentive? Italy is a government, has had many governments, and virtually all of them have claimed to want to simplify, to change the public administration, and quite frankly, we know they didn't succeed. Why this time should it be different? This is a question from the Italian perspective. But more in general, and I have a final comment and question for our friend Veronica, to what extent mechanisms which are softer than command and control, the OGP could use in order to induce and create such an incentive by leveraging or relying on name and shaming, for instance, a ranking. So OGP virtually could transform itself into a sort of credit rating agencies by ranking countries depending on how well they score on their desire to actually change the public administration and deliver current and tangible results.
Thank you. And then one last comment from the gentleman over here, if somebody will pass the mic across.
Thank you. My name is John Coates of the Dutch Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations. In the contributions, I've noticed rather some thinking from the government as a central point, but also an important development, at least in the Netherlands, as I conceive it, is to leave more responsibilities to society. So rather than only involve citizens in government processes, it's also a shift in giving citizens more responsibilities in developing services around their own needs, rather than immediately stepping to government. So also open government should be allowing citizens, facilitating citizens to come up with their own initiatives rather than only think from a government focused thinking. And that was a small remark I would like to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So a last short remark then in response to those comments and in general. Maybe we start with Stefano and come down the line.
No, I don't want to I have the role of rapporteur, so I would leave the floor to Pia and Veronica. But in any case, I would just like to mention a question that was posed by one of our participants in a tweet that was just questioning whether the level of the metropolitan cities, that is, well, big cities in Italy have been grouped by a constitutional reform that passed a few years ago. So we have major metropolitan areas. So he was just questioning himself whether this way of grouping big cities is actually a way of addressing the issue, I think, of modernization reforms and including the feedback from citizens. Is that a right level? That of the level of government came out more than once today, which is the right level of government. Yeah, where to engage citizens and the international level.
Trying to reply to the question of the incentives for politicians. In the keynote speaker in the panel this morning, that we had this morning, organized by Diritto di Sapere, told us that it is true that when we talk about opening government, providing wider and wider access to government information can have negative reactions by politicians. Actually, I don't know. One of the speakers quoted 2 times Mr. Blair once, before he became prime minister, saying that he wanted to introduce in UK, which at that time did not have it, a Freedom of Information Act, and after and afterward, when he was prime minister, he said that the biggest mistake that he had done was to introduce the Freedom of Information Act. Against this attitude that can be considered a general attitude by politicians in all countries, one of the speakers this morning told us that when pushing on open government and succeeding in engaging with civil society and with the business sector in using the benefit that opening government can provide also at the economic level through the creation of new businesses and so on, would provide a good incentive for politicians to consider that open government strategies are worthwhile, although they have some little cost to pay. In addition to that, I think that politicians today in all countries cannot resist to an environment which has changed because of the technologies, because the technological environment where we all live is enabling citizens to ask government to behave in a different way, and also I think that international comparison and international initiatives like those that we have been discussing today provide politicians with a good incentive to move on this direction.
Very quick. I love the question about incentivizing the political class and how to get them on the open government agenda. Honestly, I don't believe in the naming and shaming as a process, as a tool, as a framework, if you want. I rather believe in people who can serve as good models, as good examples, as people who are ready to step out of their comfort zone, assume risks, and become part of a broader open government reformers, champions, those who are really keen to see, to look into the constructive solutions. And I think this is something we are going to work on in OGP in the years to come. But from a different perspective, if you tell a political party, a leader, that open government is going to bring them more votes, they will be keen to listen to you. Look into the example that Brazil had a couple of years ago. They did participatory budgeting. A national level, country level participatory budgeting thing, which did bring several votes to the party who was in power. To the comments related to the municipalities and the grouping of the cities, I think from the OGP perspective, what's next in OGP is going from the national level to municipal level to local government level. I think that would come naturally, and this is where the cities and the open government and smart government at the municipality level, city level, is going to come in place in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, the chairman is close to failure, so forgive me for being brief in the summing up. The first thing I'd like to say is that we should thank with equal warmth the speakers and rapporteur of the second panel. And I think if I start my summing up with Alberto Alemano's question, politics is the art of the possible, and if we don't have leaders who get it and we can't vote them out, we're not in a democracy. And so I believe we only get the politicians we deserve as citizens, and it's an interesting walk between leadership and citizens who are also prepared to put money and time into getting things. The good news, it seems to me, is that we have in today's discussions evidence that the current leadership of the presidency of the Council in Europe for the next 6 months believes that civic values are the essential success factor for digital, and that without digital modernization in the public sector, nothing else changes. And in addition, as we've heard from Pia, it's not just the words today. Towards the end of that 6-month period, we have an opportunity to actually concretize some of those visions. Secondly, as I said before the break, I think what I've learned today, which is the most important, still around incentives, is the numbers of markets and quasi-markets which are implicit in the journey of modernization. In other words, we're growing the pie of opportunity, not just for politicians, not just for budget holders, but for everybody else. That's a very important message that we probably understate in saying it's about efficiency or it's about the citizen. We understate the myriad opportunities that modernization will bring. And then the third point, we said before the break, modernization depends on better governance. I would add 2 points there. We touched on the word culture. The first, which I think particularly coming out of Veronica's presentation that I think I've understood, is that this has to be a culture that includes passion. And that doesn't mean we just leave it to visionary leaders, but it means that we have to believe more in the importance of doing these things right. And I'm always struck, in the country I know best, since the 60s, voting goes down. My parents remembered why they needed to vote because they and their parents in turn had not always been able to vote. When I go to South Africa now, they know why they're voting. In Europe, we don't. So the passion about open government and democracy needs to be part of our cultural change, including for public servants. And the other point, which I think is an addition, is not the fact that we put civil society in, because we'd already said participative before we listened to Veronica, but how hard it is to make that work. And I really think that that's the piece we have to work on a lot. It's not enough to say it has to be civic. We have to make it work by rules. Lena was talking right at the beginning, participation by rules. You can't just aspire to it. And what Veronica underlines is you actually have to design processes so that the voices of civil society are appropriate, can be heard, are informed, and it's more than just money and resource. So I think there are some real challenges there, but I have found the whole day, if I may say so, not just to Stefano and the organizers of this afternoon, but through you all to the organizers of the whole day and the whole week, extremely inspiring. So I would say thank you to the audience, but also to the organizers for this bit and the bigger bit of Digital Venice and the 6 months to come. Thank you.
Sorry, just a few seconds. I would like to thank Robert, because he has been an excellent chair, as you have the chance to see today, and he has been working with us in a distance in the last weeks, sharing documents, vision, and inspiring. So the success of this workshop is also yours. Thanks.